right, so every week we focus on ways to get a jump start in the workforce. In today's Reclaim Your Career, we're talking about extra stress caused by poor communication. How do you maintain healthy communication when everyone else is dealing with deadlines? Valorie Burton, you know this meant Valerie's got some answers for us now. She's the author of Where Will You Go From Here? Joining us now with tips on how to communicate better. And you say, let's begin with just 5 very simple questions that you're going to ask yourself, kind of troubleshooting even before something has actually happened.
Yeah, the whole idea being that we can coach ourselves. And as a coach, my job is always asking people powerful questions. So if you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. And a lot of times people, when they're busy, when they're swamped, they don't communicate. And you end up having misunderstandings. People get into really frustrating
assumptions are made. I thought you were going to do that, and that. Okay, so you say begin with as simple as last time I had to put out a fire or fix a mistake, what conversation could have prevented it from happening?
Yes.
So you're going to ask yourself that.
You're looking back, you're learning the lesson. You're saying, last time I had to put out this fire, last time I was frustrated or I had to double up on work because of a lack of communication, what conversation would have prevented that? And when you do that, you have the opportunity to actually set up new rules. Perhaps it's something that you do all the time and you say, you know what, we always need to have a quick meeting before this, or I need to send a quick email or make a phone call.
Okay, and then you say, if you don't communicate about the matter at hand, will the consequences matter a month from now? What do you mean?
So we were looking back for the lesson, but look ahead and say, is this really going to matter? Some people over-communicate. Maybe you've had a boss like that. A lot of people have had bosses like that.
Don't talk too much.
Yeah, don't communicate too much. When you're swamped, you don't have time to communicate about every single thing. So make sure you understand what the priorities are, because if you don't, people start to get confused. What's important? What isn't? You're communicating, you're coming over to my desk about every single thing. So make sure Micromanaging. If it's not going to matter a month from now, if there are no consequences a month from now, it might be something you can kind of let go.
Okay, and third, every time you communicate at work, ask, what's the outcome I'm looking for?
Yes, this is really pivotal. So when you have a conversation, before you go into that conversation, ask yourself, what's the outcome I'm looking for? What's the bottom line? Because a lot of times we end up in conversations, we walk away more confused than when we got started. So what is it that you need to know? What's the piece of information that you need? Know the outcome, because you begin with the end in mind, and that works.
And am I avoiding the conversation or the person?
Yes. So am I avoiding the conversation or am I avoiding the person? If you've got people at work that are full of drama.
You're right, and that can create big problems.
Yes.
You're right. You're avoiding them or avoiding the conversation.
You're avoiding them. So if you need information, make sure that you focus on the content more than the emotion. I know the person might annoy you, but you need to have the conversation. So when you go into it, don't allow them to draw you into their drama. If they're having little slights, don't worry about it. You know what the outcome is you want, so just get the information, focus on the content, don't get dragged into the emotion.
To the point.
That's right.
Okay, and email. Is it really the best way to communicate that message, or would another mode of communication be more effective? So you're asking yourself that if something really went wrong, you guys just didn't meet in the middle with your communication, and now you got to reflect. I don't know, was the email the best way in which to convey my message?
We overuse email sometimes. You can't communicate everything by email. Maybe I've gotten emails before where I'm like, what the heck did they mean by this, right?
Yeah, pick up the phone or walk over to them.
Email doesn't convey tone, so you want to make sure, is this worth a phone call? Do I need to walk over and actually have a meeting with the person? Email is not always the way to go, and if you send too many, people start ignoring your emails anyway, which is counterproductive to your ability to communicate.
Oh my goodness. So communication is the key. You got to have that harmony in the workplace, and that means you got to figure out a better way to get the message across.
Yeah, and stopping to reflect and ask yourself these questions can make you a whole lot more effective, and it can save a lot of time in the end. It feels like it's taking more time, but in the end, you save time.
All right, excellent questions in which to ask yourselves. A little troubleshooting there. All right, Valorie Burton, good to see you. Thanks so much.
You too, Fred. Thanks.
Happy Sunday.